It's time for shark charts. Time for shark charts. Let's do this. I forgot my hotkeys. Hold on. Yeah, it looks right. We did it. Hi, folks. Seamless transition into this video. Thanks for your patience. I know we're an hour late today, but let's just dive straight into this mess. We got important stuff to talk about today. So, let me check. Yeah, that's good. Let's do it. Okay, so let's just do a quick macro to micro analysis of Bitcoin. I want to make sure that we understand the current pivots, the pivots that have already been crossed, and the current market condition, right? So after every period of trend, there is a state of compression, and interestingly enough, we can get a pretty clear picture of that state of trend and compression simply by looking at the 200 distribution. Right? And I'm using the 1.25 standard deviation because it's the empirical constant for the expansion and compression of any distributional period. So, when we have this period of expansion, our band gets wider, and then when it's crossed, it goes into a period of compression, which then will trade laterally as defined by that compressing band. And then, lo and behold, we have another period of expansion to the downside. And what's really interesting about that period of expansion was it was net expansion across all periods, right? Wave PM gets distributional width readings from 4 different periods, the 14, 50, 100, and 200, right? And whenever we dip up into that 0.9 region, that's a sign of critical mass. And if you enter a state of compression while having a critical mass or an overexpanded band, it is a requirement, and I say a requirement with around 95% accuracy, that price will need to return to the center of that overexpanded distribution before trending can resume either to the upside or to the downside, right? And that's actually true for the crash pattern in the past, right? Where we had every period overexpanded, so those periods needed to shed their mass through a period of lateral trading before new expansion could begin, and we have new weightings of CCI periods and everything starts expanding to the downside, right? That's what needs to happen. We need to enter a period of reduced price volatility and reduced volume, okay? That's like returning the market to a state of potential energy. So what needs to happen is we need to have the mean, the 200 moving average, meet price. And this can either happen through a trending move or through a lateral move where the mean travels down and meet price, okay? So that means price is going to have a very difficult time, well, making new lows or making new highs, right? And this is actually a condition of a market bottom, a period of reduced price volatility and volume on top of an institutional benchmark, in our case, the weekly 200 moving average. So, really, this is pretty ideal for Bitcoin. I am expecting secondary retests of the weekly 200, or tertiary. I guess we already had our secondary retest. Okay? And that's what's happening on the daily. So we're expecting a lateral mean reversion move. And if we actually look at our 3D wave PM, our longest overexpanded period is 250. So if we switch this to a 250 period, right, that's going to be the most accurate description of our compressing range, where it's going to be very difficult to go below the bottom edge here, and it's going to be very difficult to go above the top edge here until it compresses to a reasonable amount. In other words, until the 250 period turns green on the 3D wave PM. Okay, guys? So let's pop down in the 1 hour chart just so we can define the new trend of expansion. I do want to point something out on the 4 hour real quick, 1 second. And it was actually the wave PM cross that defined our new upward trend, right? So we predicted the breakout in the range in our last trading view idea right here on this wave PM cross. It implied that the range would break, and lo and behold, that is exactly what happened. And now what we can actually do is define mean reversion pivots on shorter time frames to define whether or not this is still in a state of trend as defined by the 1 hour chart, or if it's in a state of compression and lateral trading. So if we look at the 3D wave PM, we can see that our longest overexpanded period is 200. So we're going to switch that back to 200, and that's going to define trend for us. Okay. So just from looking at this, and we just adjusted the period, it turns out we actually just activated our mean reversion condition. And we are now in a state of lateral trading as defined by this 200 band on the 1 hour chart. And this is significant because this compressing range here is going to define price. Okay? So really, well, actually, we're hitting a short entry right now. This is a short entry. What you want to do is you want to wait for the 14-period CCI roll down. When that hits, or a 20-period CCI roll down, excuse me, that would actually be more accurate for you. When that CCI roll down happens, it's going to be a very strong short entry to this mean right here, right? When we actually hit that 200 moving average, well, then it's anybody's game. But until then, it's a pretty strong chart, if I do so say. All right, so we actually, this upward trend was very short-lived, and you can actually see it defining the pivot right here as well, how well that gets respected for trend continuation. And you'll notice it breaks, retests from below, retests from below, and now we're going to see the rejection to the 200 moving average, okay? It's a good chart, guys. Good stuff. All right, folks, that's all I have to say today. It's been a pleasure, and you have a good one. Nice, guys. I think I'm just going to keep this a short State of the Union address. I'm going to be done for today's live stream, guys. I've got work to do. It has been a pleasure. I'm going to release a trade call today. I'll see y'all later. Have a good one.